So I was scrolling across TikTok, right? And eventually I saw a post that says that the Demon Slayer effects aren't real. Personally, I took offense to that because I don't appreciate that. I'm going to keep believing they're real, which is why I thought to myself, not only am I going to make a what if with Tanjiro having an element, but I'm going to give this boy two. And that's when the idea hit me. What if Tanjiro had half hot, half cold? Eventually, I ended up stumbling across this really cool art for this, which was made by Guet X Guet, and I had it redrawn by Ikari. You can find both of their links down below in the description. Seriously, make sure to go check them both out. They're very talented artists. And if you guys want to see Demon Slayer, definitely check out Guet. He goes off. That said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, leave a like, seeing as it only takes 1 second and it genuinely makes such a massive difference. That said, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Before this video starts, I just quickly need to say, like this video, all right? I'm not asking, I'm telling. I just had to re-record this video. Audacity's tweaking, I lost the audio file, and I have to re-record the entire thing. Now, it is a bonus because it's like, now I get to like take some points that I didn't enjoy and I get to like do it again. But at the same time, who really wants to re-record all of the stuff that I just did right now? It's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. Regardless though. So to start this story off, I think that a very good starting point would just be Tanjiro making his way down the mountain, right? Now, one thing that I do want to explain with this video is that the effects in the Demon Slayer world will be real. And number two, Tanjiro will have the quirk half hot, half cold that Todoroki has. However, it will be a dormant quirk. Now you guys are probably like, oh, why is that? Well, the only reason for this is because Tanjiro will be the first human to get a quirk. And it just so happens that this quirk is gonna be a very OP half and half quirk. So yeah, it's basically the best explanation I could possibly give you guys. And yeah, so he makes his way down the mountain and eventually he begins to think to himself that it's getting dark and he's like, okay, let me make my way back up. On his way there, he runs into the guy who would ultimately offer him, a spot at his house. And it'd be a good thing because I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably thinking, oh, he has half hot, he'll have cold, maybe he's able to beat Muzan already, but no, Tanjiro would die if he tried right now. He has no training. He only has the quirk, and even if he did unlock it on this particular occasion, he still wouldn't be able to beat Muzan. Ain't no way. So yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to keep Tanjiro here. Okay. So Tanjiro finally would make his way up the mountain, like the next morning, and he would smell the blood, and he would arrive and see his entire family got Itachi massacred. Right. Unfortunately, this time it wasn't Itachi, not the GOAT. Instead, it was Muzan, my boy Michael Jackson. So yeah, so it's not as cool as the last one, but it is what it is. After this happens, Tanjiro notices that his sister is still breathing, so he immediately throws her on her back and begins to make his way down the mountain. Unfortunately, just like in canon, Nezuko would wake up, go crazy, and eventually it would end up with Nezuko being on top of but basically she's on top of him and she is using her monstrous strength to basically try to kill Tanjiro. Now, it would eventually get to the point where Nezuko's tears would finally begin coming out and Tanjiro would realize that she doesn't want to do this, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, considering that her body's like it's literally not letting her fight back against this feeling that she's being overcome by at the moment, right? Until eventually Giyu would run by and Tanjiro realized, like, he can see it almost like it's happening in slow motion. He sees Giyu approaching. Tanjiro is beginning to get worried. Sweat is dropping down the side of his head. And he's thinking to himself, like, my sister's gonna die. I lost my entire family. Not again. Something snaps in Tanjiro. He holds out his hand as to try to stop it, and flames hotter than anything he has ever felt in his body would shoot out, and it would almost burn Giyu had it not been for him jumping out of the way and dodging. Tanjiro from here would muster up the strength to toss, like he literally tosses Nezuko off of him, the adrenaline pumping through his veins, and he gets in front of her and says, Nezuko, stay behind me. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not gonna let you die too. And Nezuko's like a sense of her humanity like snaps back in, and she like stays there. And then Giyu gets back up and says, behind you's a demon. Get out of the way and let me finish it. It's gonna kill you. I get that it's probably someone you're close to, but you have to let me. And Tanjiro's like, no, you have to let me save my sister. Today's not gonna be the day I lose everyone. And Giyu just is like, if this kid only knew. But it'd be at this moment that Giyu would like sheath the sword and begin to like try to blitz at Nezuko. But like Tanjiro's like not having it. He straight stomps on the ground and just flash freezes. Like not flash freezes, but he just completely freezes Giyu. And Giyu would just be stuck in place, like looking on to Tanjiro inside of the ice, as Tanjiro would just realize this and be like, I just froze this guy. Nezuko is like just looking at him in awe, like she's just like, what do I do? Like she wants to eat him, but her side of like, I love my brother is just screaming like, no, like do not touch a hair on his head. So basically Nezuko is able to like stop herself, and she just like straight just like looks at him and stares at him, and Tanjiro would just like look at her in the eyes, and he like literally pulls up on Nezuko and gives her the biggest hug ever. And Nezuko, like tears, bro, like tears would begin streaming down her face, and Tanjiro's like, I thought I was gonna lose you too. And you know, like she's just looking at him, and Tanjiro goes on to tell her that he's not gonna let anything happen to his sister. And you know, like the tears would be real, bro. Like this is a very heartfelt moment, you know. And just I don't know, dude, it's just a very, very beautiful moment in essence. Like there's really no other way that I could possibly put this, you know. But basically what ends up happening, boys, is that Tanjiro will then look back at Giyu, and he's just like, okay, right, like he's frozen. How do I get him out? Like I can't just leave him in there. He's probably gonna die. So like he remembers, like I shot flames. Like what if I use those same flames again and I unfreeze it, defrost it? So he holds his hand out and he's like trying his best to like undo the freezing, and he realizes that he straight up just can't. And then he just sits there and tries and tries and tries, and it just doesn't work until finally it like these flames just shoot out of his hands and it begins to melt the ice. And Tanjiro would take a step back as Giyu would be unfrozen and would just look at him in awestruck. Like he's just like, what is like, he's still alive, he froze me, I'm a Hashira, what is going on? Like obviously the only reason that Tanjiro was able to freeze him was because Giyu was not expecting this at all. Like somebody to shoot fire, okay, yeah, he could dodge that, but somebody to straight stomp on the floor and freeze you, nah, like I don't think anyone's expecting that. So yeah, Giyu just like looks at him and says that, you know, he's not gonna like go after them anymore, but he is gonna need him to come with him. And like Tanjiro just looks at him and says like, no, he's not. Like he has to figure out how to save his sister. And Giyu goes on to explain that she's a demon. She'll be fine. Keep her out of the sunlight. We're lucky that we're here where we are now, and that sun can't penetrate the thick fog, because if that wasn't there, your sister would be burned alive. And Tanjiro just like looks at the direction of Giyu, and he would say like, what do I do? Like, how do I save her? And Giyu just looks at him and says that unfortunately there is no known cure to becoming a demon. However, he believes that Tanjiro and her are special. So, and he's willing to bet everything on that. And Giyu just like looks at Tanjiro and would go on to say that like he needs to come with him and come where the Hashira are at, and they'll figure out what they're gonna do after this, right? So Tanjiro looks at Giyu and he's just like, all right, like I'll do it, like I'll trust you, you know? So they make their way towards where the Hashiras are at, and once they end up arriving in that area, like all the Hashiras would immediately be introduced to Tanjiro. Now Nezuko would be inside of this weird little bamboo box, which it would be in the original. And you know, once they end up arriving, all the demon slayers just kind of like look at Tanjiro and they're like, okay, who is this kid? And Giyu is just like, show them. And then Tanjiro like stomps on the ground, and on his other side, like flames start shooting out, and they can see the ice in the flames, and they're stunned. They're like, what breathing style is that? And Tanjiro says he doesn't have any of that, but he does know that he has these strange powers. And they just like look at him and they're like, that has to be blood demon art. And like some of them like straight draw their swords and they're like, we'll get rid of him. And like Tanjiro's like Giyu steps in front and he's like, this kid is not demonic, none of that. Like he's a human, he has abilities. It's like he can tap into Demon Slayer, like the ability of breathing without even having that. And then like they look at him and they examine everything, and then Giyu goes on to then say, come out now. And it's at this moment that Nezuko would step out and show herself, and they'd be stunned. They'd be like, no, like we can't let a demon in here like that, like we can't do that, you know. But it'd be at this moment that Giyu says like, I'm willing to bet my life on the fact that these two are gonna be like, they're gonna make a massive difference. Like this kid, if trained properly, could literally be the one to set us free from demons. Like he literally took me out without any form of training, just these weird powers that he claims that he barely knew he had that same day. And like they're stunned, they're just like, whoa, like that's crazy. But Sanemi's like not buying, or I think that's his name, like the Wind Hashira. Like he like looks at him and he's like, I'm not buying it. Like I'm not letting a demon like trick me like ever, you know, like demons are cold, they're ruthless, they can't be talked with, negotiated with. And he's just like, I say we kill it. And Rengoku, like he smiles and he's like, yes, I say we kill it too. You know, it's much safer. It's much better to be safe than sorry, you know? And it'd be at this moment that Giyu would say that he would be willing to bet anything on these guys. Like just give them a chance. And it would begin to get heated. And Sanemi just like looks at Tanjiro's sister and like in the shade. And he says that he'll test her. Like he'll prove it to them that she's not safe. And Giyu's like, what are you doing? And he tries to stop him, but like he pushes his hand off of him and says, get out of my way. He goes over to her, and before he can get in front of Nezuko, Tanjiro steps in front of Sanemi and he's like, don't you dare take another footstep closer towards my sister. Like if you do, like I will personally make sure that I will send you back to the Ice Age. And like Sanemi like smirks and he's like, what do you know about that? Like I've seen demons kill my own siblings. Like I've seen them kill each other. Like I'm not gonna let this happen again. And then Tanjiro says that may have been yours, but not mine. And then like Sanemi like gets angry at like hearing that those words come out of Tanjiro's mouth. And Tanjiro like just like straight looks at him and he's like dead serious. Like he's gonna freeze this guy. But it'd be at this moment that the leader of the Hashiras would appear, and he'd appear and he'd be like, what's going on? And then Giyu would explain everything like in person, and he's like, well, from what it appears, she hasn't attacked anybody, and from Giyu's statement and the fact that she's not actively trying to kill anybody, I say our safe bet is to just let it happen. And you know, like Rengoku would say, no, that's not right. Sanemi's like, nah, like I'm not letting that slide, like I'm gonna kill it. But ultimately Tanjiro like looks at him and like he just gives him that look of like, I'm gonna freeze you, bro. Like I'm not playing, you know? So Sanemi and Tanjiro do not like each other off rip. But ultimately he goes on to explain that if Tanjiro had the proper guidance, like he could probably genuinely be like a Hashira in no time. And then it'd be at this point that Giyu would step up and say that, yeah, like he was thinking that if he and Rengoku trained this kid for like 2 years or something, this kid could potentially be even stronger than us, you know, like in no time, maybe in a year's time. And like Rengoku would say like he's not willing to. And you know, like Giyu would say like he's willing to start it all off. Like he doesn't mind if Rengoku doesn't care. And like the leader would just be like, okay, you know, like do your thing. Like I'm gonna let it happen, but I'm gonna need you guys to take care of the girl. And they realize that like Nezuko is straight just passed out asleep, and she just does not wake up. And it'd be at this point that Tanjiro would be worried, but she'd wake up much faster considering that she never had the fight with the weak demon that they do when they meet Urukadaki. So because of that, she wakes up a lot earlier, like basically in half the time. And Tanjiro would be more than capable of like finishing his first year of training with Giyu. Now that first year was basically Giyu taught him the basics of water breathing. So Tanjiro has access to water breathing and the basics of concentration breathing and all that stuff. So Tanjiro knows all this, you know, like Tanjiro is getting broken like early on. Like I cannot emphasize this hard enough. Hard enough. He is getting busted. Like it's crazy how powerful Tanjiro is becoming, you know? But basically what ends up going down is that Tanjiro after this time would have finally ended up like making some sort of like headway with these like Hashiras, and Rengoku would finally decide to like say, okay, fine, like I'll train this kid. So he trains with flame breathing. So now Tanjiro has flame breathing under his belt, and he learned that in 7 months. And then for the following 5 months that he had left, he developed his own breathing style, like ice breathing. I was gonna say snow, but no, ice breathing. So Tanjiro has ice breathing, water breathing, and fire breathing, like flame breathing, you know? And like that's busted. And not only that, but he also has a combined breathing, like a style that he's working on currently. He only has one attack with it, but it's called it's a combination. It's half ice, half flame breathing. You know, it's like a combination breathing is what he calls it, right? And basically Tanjiro is just like, he's just him, bro. Like that's as simple as I can put it. Tanjiro is straight up just him. Continuing on the story though, After Tanjiro would be equipped with all these 2 years of training, Tanjiro would finally decide that like he's done. Like they would have told him that like no, like if he trains for 1 more year, like he can be certain. Like Tanjiro's already basically stronger than all the other Hashira, so he's like the strongest one there. But Tanjiro's like not willing to wait anymore. Like he's like, nah, like this guy killed my family. I'm gonna murder him. Like I'm not letting him off the hook. Like he's been alive for 2 more years than he deserved, and I'm gonna end him today. And they're just like looking at him, and Tanjiro's like, I'm not playing around. So he's just straight like leaves the area, and he already has his Hashira cloak. It's like red and blue, and he looks exactly like Todoroki, mind you. He's literally Todoroki, and the burn mark that he has, instead of it being a burn mark, is like the Demon Slayer mark that like allows them to see into the like the other world thing, like the other like dimension thing. I'm sorry, it's just been a little bit of a minute since I've read the Demon Slayer manga, right? But no, what basically ends up going down is that Tanjiro would make his way down, and he would go over towards the town where he would be told that he has his first mission, right? And Tanjiro goes on his first mission just to try to see if he can gain some information out of the demons that he wasn't able to gain out of the demon slayers. He knows Muzan's name is Muzan Kubitsuji, but other than that, he doesn't know anything else, right? He knows he's evil, he knows he was around a lot of time, but other than that, he doesn't know what he looks like or none of that, right? He's just been described to him, right? So what basically ends up going down is that Tanjiro would make his way towards this village. He ends up seeing this guy like straight getting berated on and beat down on by some dad, and the mom's like crying. She's like basically saying like stop hitting him, you know? And he's like, how could you? I trusted you with my daughter and you had her killed. You know, like how would you feel like as a dad, like knowing that you entrusted the life of your baby girl and she didn't come back to you? I feel like that would genuinely like that would hurt so bad, but we're not here to talk about that. Point being that Tanjiro would arrive, see this man, and then talk to him and say like, hey, like what's going on, like what happened? And like he looks at Tanjiro and he's like, oh, like I was with this girl and then like she died, like she was taken from me. And Tanjiro wastes no time. He's like, it was a demon that killed my family as well. I know exactly how you're feeling. And he's like, and I promise you, I won't rest until I murder this son of a bee, you know? And the man like looks at him and he's like, you promise you can do it? And Tanjiro looks at him and like makes flames appear on his hands. And like the flames would literally be morphed into like literally writing, like the flames literally like spell yes in his hand. And this man would be like, what in the world? And Tanjiro just like looks at him, winks, and then would say that just to go home, like I promise it'll be done. Like just tell me where your house is. I'll bring you the head of like, I'll bring you like something back of this girl just for proof. And so this guy like straight trusts Tanjiro. Like he doesn't know why, but he just feels like Tanjiro is trustworthy. Like there's like just a realism. There's just like this look in his eye that just tells him that he is dead serious on what he's gonna do. And so he just looks at him and says, all right. And Tanjiro, like he waits until nighttime, and eventually he would smell these demons, right? And he would finally make his way there. And you know, Tanjiro gets there and he's like done playing, you know what I mean? Like he just looks at these demons and like he sees them and he's like, so you guys are the ones that have been taking out all these people, all these girls specifically? And they're like, we are. And then they're like, well, and you know, like Tanjiro, he just like looks at them and he's like, well, unfortunately, I kind of need you to stop. And they're like, they start like screeching their teeth, right? And Tanjiro is just like not having it. He's literally gets annoyed and he freezes one of them straight on the ground so that it can't go back into like the waters, and he just cuts its head off. Then he turned to the side, noticing that one of the demons would have like rushed at him and tried to like scratch at him, and Tanjiro just straight like burns it, like straight just burns it to a crisp before then cutting its head off at the root. And the other one like would try to run away into the water, but Tanjiro would dive into that thing and like not play no games. Tanjiro from here would try to shoot his flames, but realize that he can't because of like it's just water in there. And Tanjiro's holding his breath and he sees this guy, and using his water breathing, he would use the water wheel. However, he would use like an ice wheel instead of the water wheel. Actually, no, he would use the water wheel because it's more efficient in the water. So he would use his water wheel technique, cut the head off of this demon and pop it right back out, saying unfortunately he wasn't able to gain information because this demon was too weak. So he then like grabs like a little garment of the girl and he brings it back and says which one of these was her. And the guy like picks it out and he's like, thank you. And Tanjiro's like, I promise I'm going to continue murdering these things if it's the last thing I do. And like the man just like looks at him and he's like, thank you so much, you know? From here, Tanjiro would continue his journey and realize halfway that he is starving. Like, Tanjiro is actually so incredibly hungry right now. So he realizes that there's a town nearby and he makes his way there. Once there, Tanjiro makes his way towards this like ramen truck, and it would say Ichiraku ramen, right? He gets there and he goes on to order the same meal that Naruto stays getting, right? And you know, he gets like, he's straight eating, having a great old time, until suddenly he gets a whiff. He's like, hey, yo, I recognize that, but from where? And then suddenly it would hit him. And in just a slow motion panel, like we would see Tanjiro like drop the bowl and just like run, and the man screaming, hey, like, and Tanjiro would just like be like, I'll be right back. And like, he just like runs into the town, bro. Like, he is not playing no games. And he would scream, Muzan Kibatsuji, and he shoots flames straight at Muzan. Like, he does not care, bro. Like, he straight shoots those flames right at him, and Muzan, like, he would like jump back, avoiding them, and everybody there would like begin running away. And Tanjiro says, this is perfect. I found you way sooner than I thought I would. You killed my family, and now I'm here to avenge them. And like, Muzan looks at him and says, you're not the first one to say that, and you won't be the last. And Tanjiro says, I will be the last. I can promise you that. He stomps on the floor, causing like ice to appear on the ground, and he would create like a massive dome of ice that like nobody can get in and nobody can get out of, right? There's like no opening. And Tanjiro just looks at Muzan and says that he's dead. And Muzan's like stunned. He's like, how is this kid like making ice? Like, he's actually shocked. Like, he's a little like surprised, but not fearful yet. And he would just like try to instant kill Tanjiro, like thinking that like this kid's just gonna die instantly. Like, there's no reason for him to waste his time, yada, yada, yada. So Muzan tries to use his ultimate attack, and like Tanjiro like blocks it with like a massive block of ice, and Muzan would be stunned. From here, Muzan tries to get in close and personal, like scratch him and like kill him or something, but like Tanjiro's not having it. He shoots flames at Muzan, and Muzan's unfortunately unable to get close to Tanjiro. And then like Tanjiro basically just grabs his sword. He dual wields. He has like a dual wield, kind of like Zenitsu. However, the way that he does it is the reason that he has dual wield is because one side is for his fire, the other side is for his ice, right? And like, he just gets ready like to like start like fighting this man, like, and he just like looks at him and says, I'm gonna kill you, Muzan. And he would like rush in there, and he would like start swinging his sword, and Muzan would like be doing his best to keep up with Tanjiro, and he's like stunned. He's like, this kid is the like he literally would see Yorichi in him, even though they look nothing alike. He get like the fighting style, the way that he's implementing fear into the heart of Muzan is like shocking him, and he would just be stunned. Like, there has never been anybody in the history who has ever managed to make him genuinely feel fear before. But this kid is gonna be his downfall. Like, Muzan would genuinely be praying for his life, and Tanjiro's not having it. Like, I promise y'all, Tanjiro is not listening to it. None of that. Like, Tanjiro's basically just thinking back to like he's thinking this quote in his head as he's like about to murder Muzan. And Muzan's begging for his life, and Muzan's like, please spare me. Like, I'll turn you into a demon. You'll be even more powerful. I'll work under you. And Tanjiro would look at him and like be like, let me ask you a question, you filthy demon. Have you ever spared a human because he begged you for his life? And then we get like the cool edit, like have you guys seen the TikTok edits where like dun, you know, like kind of like that basically happens. And then Tanjiro like uses his combination attack, ice and fire, what's it called, flaming, what's it called, flash freeze slash, you know, like he blitzes in, and like dual wield just straight cuts all of Muzan's hearts, like straight all of them fall, and Muzan just straight dies. Like, I'm telling y'all, like Tanjiro straight cut him so many times across his body, he basically might as well have slashed him over 200 times. And Muzan is just like, he dies. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Muzan just straight falls to the ground, and GG's. Like, Muzan's done for. And Tanjiro just looks at him and he's like, you're pitiful. Like, I hope that you rot in hell. And like, Muzan just like looks at him, and he's just like, he just basically is just like, and Tanjiro from here would be like, all right, it's done. I guess I gotta go get my sister now. So he makes his way back towards where the Hashiras are at. And once he arrives, he would say, it's done. He's dead. And they'd be stunned. They'd be like, are you serious? And Tanjiro's like, yeah, I used this move on him. And he shows them what move he's talking about, right? And he creates the dome. And he basically goes on to tell them that he was strong, but honestly, he was too weak. he wasn't strong enough. Sorry, not too weak, but he wasn't strong enough. And then like the Hashiras are just like, they're like, no way this kid like actually did it. And like Tanjiro's like, I did. It was easy. From here, Tanjiro would just go on to be like a regular demon slayer. And all I'm going to say when it comes to Tanjiro, Zenitsu and Inosuke, I think that they would definitely be able to do like the house arc where they all met, like all three of them met together. And then like they would go on the spider mission. I definitely do still see them passing or like being able to complete it. And I definitely do see Inosuke and Zenitsu like facing off against like the big chunky like demon, the strong one. And like Inosuke's like just about to die, and he knows like Zenitsu like passes out because he's scared, you know. And then he finally unveils his true power and he cuts the demon's head off. And right as that happens, like Tanjiro would arrive and see this and he'd be like, yo, like this kid, like he's kind of strong, you know what I mean? Like I like this guy, you know. Ultimately, Rui or Ryu or whatever arrives, the guy with the spider abilities. And when Tanjiro sees, he's like not having it. Like he would shoot his webs at him, and Tanjiro just straight like freezes him. Like he's not having it. Like he just doesn't even look in his direction. He just stomps frozen. And like he's frozen in this gigantic iceberg that would literally take like months to melt. But once it finally does melt, like it would melt in the day, and Rui would just like get completely obliterated by the sun. Like it's just GG's, you know. But yeah, like Inosuke and Zenitsu would go to the the Hashira place, and like they train and they go on like different missions and all that stuff, and Tanjiro would accompany a bunch of the other Hashira like to go on and kill the other like lower ranking demons, the ones that work under Muzan. But basically that's it, because Tanjiro already defeated the big bad. Like we're talking we speed ran this what if, essentially, is what we did. And I can't stop to tell you guys how much I enjoyed making this what if. Everything from the thumbnail to like the script to the ideas, like it's really nice whenever I get to make like a non like Naruto what if, non MHA what if, but something that includes those elements, because at the end of the day I love those animes, and just being able to make videos like this is genuinely so fulfilling when I'm able to have fun like this. That said, like I said at the beginning of the video, please leave a like. It genuinely helps more than you guys would even imagine. And with all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I love each and every single one of you guys. Remember that God loves you, and with nothing else to say, peace.